Ladies and gents, welcome. We are back with Kickoff Carnage 30. Um, don't really have too much to yap on about from last episode. The main thing to come out of it was, of course, the fact we actually managed to go up to popularity points in 1 month, which was huge. We'll see if it happens again this month, which is the last month of 2023, which will be our second year so far, which it feels like it's kind of flying in, but at the same time, so much time has passed, it's a bit wild. But anyway, first show of December, and we're starting off huge after the main event scandal of last show, where the architect came out with Sasquatch, and now his little meddling behind the scenes with the past masters has also came into sort of fruition here. Is it's pretty much announced he's basically playing Papa Swole at his own game. He's basically just saying, he's not forgot what Papa did to him. The fact that Papa had to essentially make a small army in order to dethrone him at the top, but he's always ahead. Whether you think you've got the upper hand or not, he says, I'm always. Well, he kind of refers to himself in the third person by saying, the architect's always ahead. He's always got the blueprint to stay above, and he's going to make sure Papa Swole's life is absolute misery as long as he has that belt around his waist. He's coming for him, which is in turn the founding of the first ever stable in our promotion, the Blueprint, of course led by the architect, with the tag team of the past masters and the huge Sasquatch McGraw, who just debuted last month. So this is quite the force to be reckoned with. We do only get a 34, which I think is mainly to do with everyone being on screen, but with the historian's entertainment value he brings too, I feel like he'll be able to boost all three of these guys up to the next level as well at the minute, with how things are. But it got us off to a strong start, got the crowd hotter. 34 is actually pretty low considering we also used an angle idea. This is like, yeah, it's pretty, even though 34 is way more than enough satisfactory for our like audience and our sort of minimum requirements for quality, it's still a little lower than I was expecting, sadly. But anyway, we're moving into our first match, which of course features two members of the brand new stable, the tag team of Sandman and the Historian, and they actually get the win. But after the promo, Sasquatch and Architect stayed at ringside and ended up having a bit of a influence, you could say, on the end of the match. When the Historian submitted Stevie Stanley with a figure four leg lock, but during the match we had Sasquatch McGraw running and attack Stanley, and then as also Stevie Stanley was getting submitted, we had Architect essentially, like grab his leg from sliding back in the ring to break up the pin. They were basically just messing with Funkenstein and Stevie Stanley the whole match. Anything they could do to get under their skin, messing with the ref to distract them and beat them up, just anything to get the upper hand. And the new tag team of the stable gets their first win, 49. Pretty solid rating. The Doctor's quite far behind here. Stevie gets a 43. He's pretty solid. I don't like that he's referred to as the sexy beasto when he looks about 14 years old. That's like his whole niche. He's the party animal, the sexy beast. The ladies love him. But he looks like he's like just started puberty. I don't know, maybe not, maybe I'm just being weird, but so like thing is not, it's not really sticking. But solid performances from Winks and the Historian. 47, very good. 49 rated match. As we move into 47, Blue Dragon and Marco, of course, they have great chemistry. I believe they've fought before. I feel like I already knew this, but Blue Dragon gets a win against Marco by pinfall with the Dragon Driver 47 segment rating. Pretty solid. Pretty good match. 44 from Dragon too. They're a great chemistry, would have boosted this big time. 47 considering it's these two is pretty good. And it's a good momentum one for Blue Dragon, who I assume, based on this whole situation with the blueprint, Blue Dragon may be essentially relied on to help Papa Swole. It's looking like one of his buddies. And obviously a big hater of Architect is Blue Dragon too. We move into a bit of a rare triple threat match. I don't even remember the last time we actually did one. And it's the other member of Blueprint who also picks up the win. Sasquatch McGraw defeats Jules and Remy in 9 minutes with a Sasquatch McGraw. Sasquatch McGraw pinned Jules Knight, illegally using the ropes for leverage. And obviously during the match we actually had Architect run in and attack Honeyman, which he actually stayed. He was basically ringside. Came to the ring with Sasquatch. Was that ringside hole? Basically almost like a coach, like a manager for Squatch. Sasquatch was kind of the vibe it was giving off. Solid match though. Sasquatch is a bit of the weak link, but Jules and Remy are both very good in the ring. They have no charisma and they're so bland. They're great workers, but it would be very hard to push them. But they always do a good job, which is of course why we have them. I feel like we haven't really seen them, especially Jules, as much recently with the intake on more workers, but our show duration has not increased, so there's always people left off the shows now. But 52, triple threat, Sasquatch picks up another win, and I believe his second match in the promotion, staying unbeaten. Then we move into a face versus face, similar to when we did Davis against Logan. Just mixing it up a little bit. Two very good workers, bringing in a 54 rated match. About to had great wrestling, good heat. Mutant defeats Miller, just under 12 minutes with a Tina Turner. I feel like Mutant has also had a hot new move for the longest time ever. But this is another solid fight as well. Another solid fight, oh my god, another solid match, I should say. Singh is coming up for our main event as well, but before we have Davis with a very good improv segment here. He's someone who he comes out before his match. He's main eventing tonight, and basically just is not really pleading to the crowd, but he's basically just letting them know he shouldn't be wrote off. He loses very, very little. He's one of the strongest guys here. He was the first ever Great Lakes champion, and he feels like he deserves another chance. He did lose, of course, recently to Logan Wolfsbane, but he wants to do whatever it takes, even if he knows he can beat Logan. So he also kind of wants a rematch. You know, he deserves to be the next number one contender for Papa Swole. Feels like he's earned it. Been here since day one, beating everyone, and recently he's been sort of shoved to the sidelines. 63 rating, huge, into a 57 match with surprise, surprise, everyone's favourite Zombie Boy, the Hoover. This is confirmed now to be Zombie Boy's last match with the promotion. So he decided it's only fair someone like Davis Wayne hopefully gets a nice boost from this, because he not only does he need it, but he does really deserve it. Probably on paper, if you take out Ernest, who still hasn't debuted, it's really hard to go against. Davis is the best in-ring performer we have, and he shows why here with a 64 rated performance, 57 for the match too, which should help with our overall rating being the best segment rated match of the night. The fans are disappointed with the storyline. Oh my god, again, I did the whole segment basically adding the Blueprint faction into it, but it's obviously okay. They don't like that there's no dramatic stakes, so basically we need more than just a promo. 55 is fair though. in front of 212 people, which is slightly going down, but the US economy is still really low, which I guess maybe has an effect on the popularity of attendance. I mean, sorry, I don't really know, because I don't really feel like it's affecting our finances too much. You know, we're still making money, and that's all that matters right now. But considering we didn't really have the champ again, there's no knowing if he'll be back. You know, he got beat up on the last show on his title defense against Cheetah Boy afterwards. So we'll see how the blueprint go moving forward and what exactly Papa Swole's sort of plan of action will be, since he knows now that he's got a huge target on his back, not just with Architect, but all of essentially Architect's goons. So it's definitely coming full effect, you could say, full circle. We'll give this to the tag team. Actually, they did really good. Point them out as a good example. Overpleased. Financially, we lost 420, which isn't bad. Using just over 1,000 on workers is could have been a lot worse actually. So that's I'll take it. Popularity recap. We go up again to 21. If I go up again, and I move up 2 popularity points 2 months in a row, that would be wild. But we're getting here quick. We're only 4 points away from Wrestle World now, which definitely won't be happening when we hit 25 pop. But it's good to know we're like, you know, it just felt like a minute ago we just hit Tiny on 17 pop, and now we're at 21. So good signs for sure. Okay, we're back. Kickoff Carnage 31, our last show of 2023 before we get into the new year, which just very quickly, I think starting next episode, with it being the new year and all, I'm going to try and do less of showing you guys like the man management stuff, and try and run through more than 2 episodes a show, just so we can get the ball rolling that little bit faster, because I'm enjoying playing as well. So it'll be good to just sort of fire through more shows at a time, and maybe I can do a better job at remembering what's going on and things. Obviously, that's not super important right now. We're literally still in debt. We're so small as a company. We're just slowly building up. But yeah, I think starting next episode we'll maybe try do it a little bit different and kind of book things maybe a little bit different. We'll see how it goes, but definitely more episodes, more shows, sorry, per episode, which is good. I think it'll be good to get through it, because there's still a long way to go, you know. We're not even small size yet, and it'll be obviously more fun the more we get into it, and the more storylines we can run, the bigger the roster is, the more scope we have, because right now I'm still only signing people who are based in the US. I'm trying to get people that are really cheap. And speaking of getting people just in the US, I obviously signed Ernest. I mentioned it before many times. I am a big fan of Ernest, and I kind of jumped the gun with signing him, because I signed him months ago but never used him. And then the nail kind of got hit on the head when, in between the last show and this show, he asked for a pay rise of like double what he was already on, and he was already getting paid, I think, about $300, which might not sound like a lot, but we're still in debt. And our highest paid guy after that, who's still on the roster right now, I think, is Wicked Lester, and he's 140 or 120. So yeah, he wanted like double. So I gave him the pay rise, and then just thought, you know what, I'll just release him. I don't really want to piss him off, but I also don't want to keep him and not use him. I just don't really have a fit for him, you know. I kind of done it on a whim. I signed him out of pure reaction and excitement to use him, but we don't really have a spot for him, you know. He's way more over than their whole promotion, everyone on it. So yeah, I could like give him the belt, but then it's going to be really hard to take it off him without annoying him. And I know in the past we've had a habit of like annoying a couple of guys like Zomboy and Wicked Lester, and maybe 1 or 2 from before, but I don't really want to keep doing that. But also I didn't really care about those guys, because I don't have a plan for them. But Ernest Youngman's someone I really like, and someone I would arguably go into like a bidding war for later down the line when I'm able to offer exclusive contracts. You know, he's like someone that could he's huge, Ernest. I really like him. I'm a big fan. So I didn't really want to piss him off too much. So I just released him, which obviously he was annoyed about. But yeah, I'll keep him on the short list, and he's maybe one for the future. But we don't have him anymore at the minute. But enough of me blabbing. So yeah, next episode, starting next episode, I'm going to try and do more shows. I think if anyone, I kind of post these and that, not to sound rude or whatever, but I don't necessarily care about people watching them. It's more for like my own benefit. I just enjoy playing the game. But if anyone is following along and has obviously made it this far, um, feel free to comment below if there's anything you want to see more of, or anything maybe I'm not showing something you want to see, which is quite obvious because yeah, like I say, I'm no pro when it comes to the game. But as we go further down the line with it, in terms of putting more effort into the videos, will probably come naturally. I think when we need to put more effort into our company. But right now, it's still early days. We only have one bell. It's fun. It's part of the whole experience. Um, okay, I'm going to have to spoil this here because I just remembered I did not assign this as adding in one of our creative finishes. Extremulus. Let's do that one. Good thing I remembered. Okay, let's go. Kick off Carnage. 31. Last show of the year, and we kick it off with the Blueprint stable. Well, one half we have Architect and Sasquatch in the ring, and Architect basically announces that the champion Papa Swole will not be here tonight because of the injuries he suffered at the hands of him and his goons, essentially. We actually haven't seen Papa Swole both shows now. We didn't see him on the first show of December, and of course, he's not here. This kind of works perfectly because he is actually injured. He got injured, well, he got a bruised kidney working for another promotion, and he can work through it, but I sometimes don't really like using them. And it also feeds into the whole storyline we're doing, this little segment of the storyline where they've injured him essentially and he can't be here. He also, of course, heard the mummers last show of Davis, essentially staking his claim he deserves a shot at the title. So he's essentially calling out Davis, come fight me tonight at the main event and prove to me why you should be ahead of me on the calling. I still haven't got my rematch yet at the belt that I lost unfairly. So if you think you're better than me, then come tonight. He's saying it so confidently, obviously, with his whole team behind him. He's like, come fight me tonight. We can main event, which of course is accepted. So Davis Wayne against the Architect tonight. It's not necessarily a number one contender, but it's a huge match for both of them to win. Angle gets the crowd hotter. Architect improvised well throughout, a 52 rating. Angle got the show off to a strong start, of course, with his huge, towering, menacing Sasquatch by his side, who's just there really to look tough. Good start though, as we then move into Sasquatch's match, which the Architect, of course, he's sort of like his manager and trainer and everything mixed in between. He's at ringside, and he's basically just watching McGraw go to town, and he beats Kip Condit in under 6 minutes with a running big boot. 41 rating, pretty decent. They have good chemistry, which lifted the match. I was planning on actually just using one of our guys, like one of our jobbers, essentially. But Kip came to me before the show asking if he could be used. He's came a few times before the shows, which is something I need to actually remember to record and show you guys. Like before I book the show, you can guys see the backstage interactions and stuff like that. I still want to show that. I just keep forgetting. We'll start that next episode though. But yeah, he's came to me backstage a couple times and asked if he can come to the show because obviously he's not on my payroll, just to hang out. And I've said yes, but this was the first time he came and asked if he could actually be used. So I thought, you know what, I'll feed you to the wolves. We have seen him before a couple of times, but pretty solid match. 45 for Sasquatch. We don't necessarily care much for Kip at the moment, but 41 rating. Sasquatch is his like minimum level that I was expecting from him is much higher than I was anticipating. He's only fought a couple of times, but he's hitting those mid 40 ratings, which is very respectable for what we have on our roster, to be honest. Especially considering he's 6'11". I still can't get over it. It's just ridiculous the amount of height we have on the roster. Speaking of height, Dr. Frankenstein beats Wicked Lester by pinfall with the funky elbow drop. Now this is very, very likely the last time we see Wicked Lester before we also inevitably release him, but it's a big win for the Doc in terms of getting the pop-up. I don't really want to keep using guys as like hoovers though, so I feel like I'm going to try and not do this anymore. It wasn't really on purpose, so Wicked. I had plans for Wicked, Leicester, and Zombie Boy, but it just wasn't to be for now. So the Doc picks up a big win against Leicester here. 40 rated segment, pretty good. 38 for the Doc, so he can definitely get better. As we know, he's young. We have a lot of young guys on the roster, as mentioned before. So it's just a case we need to build them up. Moving on from that, we have Dragon and Hangman up against the Minnesota Awesome. Good wrestling match, decent reaction from the crowd, and it's Hangman and Dragon who win in 12 minutes when Hangman pinned Perry Longstaff with a chokeslam. Pretty solid ratings here as well. Dragon's a bit of a weak link, but more so because of his momentum. 52 for Hangman. This is more, Hangman was essentially, the way this one plays out, he's kind of carrying Dragon a little bit. You know, there's a big gap in terms of skill, you could say. You know, when it's kind of like little and large, the tag team. These two, of course, are tagged up as individuals, but I do need to start using them together to get their experience up a little bit. Because at the minute, I have assigned them obviously as a tag, but not used them too much. But good win for them against one of our newer tag team faces. Good match though for sure. 54 rating. Good win for Hangman and Dragon as well. Then we move into a backstage interview with the Doc after his win against Wicked Leicester. Arguably one of the biggest wins he's got in a tough match. And he's just selling himself, you know, being a bit of a goofball, getting that funk on. Very good rating, 61, which will also help with his popularity, putting him in these angles. So solid interview. Moving into, I believe, our co-main event here. We get a 57 rating with a belly-to-belly suplex finish by Logan Wolfsbane. He gets the win over Miller. Logan, of course, beat Davis, so he's kind of in contention. As much as we haven't really heard much from him, he's of course very good, and he's arguably eyeing up for a chance at that title against Papa Swole whenever Papa returns. Good win here, 53 rating, 46 for Miller. Hopefully it doesn't outshine our main event with Davis and Architect. Oh my god, no way. Of course it doesn't. Holy smokes. Architect gets a 69. We actually haven't seen Architect really fight in a while since he lost his belt. He's been involved more in angles, but this is huge. Of course, it's part of the Boom Shakalaka storyline. I added Davis and stuff. I added more people in it as major roles, supporting roles, so that it's always getting advanced, because that note of failing was really annoying me. But the Architect beats Davis in 17 minutes using underhanded tactics. He also had Sasquatch ringside, essentially being used as a distraction. So he's cheated to get the win, but at 72, I'm going to have to check if that's the highest rated match. I think it might be on par, roughly. We can check that together. We obviously did use the creative finish too, but 69 from the Architect. He is. I love how you can have and then after I was sorry, I thought we were at the end here, but I forgot it was afterwards. Pretty solid considering this is just a beatdown. Very similar to what happened to Papa Swole. You know, Sasquatch jumps in the ring after the match with Architect, and they both just beat down on Davis Wayne until he's essentially not moving anymore, giving off the impression, just like Papa Swole, that Davis could also be injured here, which obviously isn't great. But you know, Architect in the blueprint, they don't care. They're on their saga of just destroying everyone, with Sasquatch essentially at the wheel. Architect in many ways is just using them like little puppets, you know, getting them to do his dirty work for him. He already was very dangerous on his own, Architect, but now he's got all this backup and all this extra firepower. It's looking pretty scary so far. But show increases popularity, 65 overall show rating. We end the year very good considering we've had a lot of we've stuck to 2 shows per month this year, and especially after Papa Swole win the belt, I feel like we have more people on the roster, but we're essentially leaving more people off shows, but we're still pulling in like great ratings. Considering our pop is sitting at like, I want to say 21, 22, the fact we're hitting 65, this is like good enough for small companies. Like it's hitting the ballpark for medium sized companies too, pretty much. Well, it's around there anyway, which is huge for us, considering it's exciting things to know we have a roster of guys that a lot of them are still going to get a lot better. We just have to make sure we keep using them and not look into the creative side of it too much, which is something it's more my own fault. I'm so used to playing these types of games, like the UFC one. I think it's World of Mixed Martial Arts, and sometimes I forget I'm not playing that anymore, and I'm playing the wrestling, which obviously you book it much different. We're going to actually give this to who? I'm trying to think who could do with it. You know what? We'll give it to the Doc. Yeah, he doesn't really. Good example. He did a very good promo as well. Architect outshined too. That was great. Overall loss was only 200. We only used 1,000 on workers, which is much lower than it usually is, to be honest. Popularity recap: we did not go up, which is to be expected because we went up 2 points last month, and I think we actually did. We already go up in December? Maybe we can check. I'll check that in a sec too. But yeah, it's been a pretty good year. I feel like we've advanced pretty well. We should hopefully be on the cusp by this time next year at hitting small, or if not, we should maybe have hit small depending on how it goes. Let me see top 100s real quick. Okay, yeah, it was tied Papaswol and Architect, which I believe that's when Papaswol beat him for the belt. That also got a 72, but that's really good. Architect also got 30s in the top 3. What about shows actually? Did that? Oh, it's second. So yeah, we're getting there. We're advancing quick, which is good. We have a pretty nice roster. I believe right now we have 10 faces and 11 heels, and I also averaged out the popularity, and we're averaging, if you mold everyone together, all the faces, I believe they have about 23. The average popularity for our face workers is 23, and it's also 23 for the heels when I done some calculations on it, which is pretty good to know. They're like essentially round about the level of the company. What else do we have a little look at? I want to kind of leave a lot of this for next episode because we'll obviously have the end of year awards and we'll start running through more episodes. So I think I might just leave it here. But everything's looking pretty good. Wicked Lester will be leaving. We'll see what happens with Papa Swole at the start of the next year. We'll have our end of year awards to go over to. And it's basically just, essentially pushing forward, slugging away to get to the next size and see what the future has in store for the company and the workers, to be honest. So I shall leave us here until next time. And yeah, if you guys have any opinions, any thoughts, anything you want to see, you don't want to see, just let me know. Just comment below. Usually I don't really play too far ahead of the YouTube episodes, so we can put them in effect pretty quick. But yeah, it would be nice to know if you guys have anything. To be honest, anything you want to see, don't want to see. But until then, I shall leave it here. I think, yeah. I'm trying to think just before I go if there is anything. There probably is something to note or something to show, but nah. We'll leave it. I'm sure I'll remember for next episode, but good end to the year with our second ever best show and our best ever match, so I can't really complain. I'll see you guys next time.